Okay, last up, we need to talk about just a couple of applications involving ratios and rates. Okay, so example 6 just says mixed practice, and for part A, it says find the ratio of the hypotenuse of the triangle to its perimeter. So you may or may not remember this from when we talked about the Pythagorean theorem, but the two sides that make up the right angle, the corner, these are called the legs of the triangle. So we'll call this leg, this is a leg, and then the side opposite the right angle, the longest side, the slanted side, that is the hypotenuse. Okay? So if we're finding the ratio of the hypotenuse to the perimeter of the triangle, we got to do a little work here. Okay? So we essentially want hypotenuse compared to perimeter. Well, I can go ahead and fill in a value for the hypotenuse. We know it is 10 meters. What we don't know yet is the perimeter. So perimeter, you basically just add up the length of all the sides. So we add up the length of these three sides. Let me fix that one. That one got a little messy. All right, so the perimeter is going to be the sum of all the sides added up. So let's start with the hypotenuse. That is 10. And then let's go clockwise. So then we will get 10 plus 8 plus 6. Well, 8 and 6 adds up to be 14. So then if I take the sum of the two legs and add it to the hypotenuse, I just get 24 meters. So I'm comparing 10 meters to 24 meters, and we just want to simplify, okay? So the units meter can cancel because they're the same, so we can just keep units to units, okay? And then 5 and 24 are both even, so let's go ahead and divide them by 2, and let's see what we get. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So for every 5 meters in the hypotenuse, we have 12 meters in the perimeter. Okay, so that's a kind of a classic thing. You'll take these different geometric type figures and sometimes compare different sides or compare something like one length to a perimeter. That's not totally unusual. All right, part B, it says, what is the ratio of the social and recreational mileage to the work mileage? So let's kind of process what's happening here. So we have all these different miles. So I'm assuming this is something like where people added up the mileage they drove in the course of a year, maybe, and they broke it up into different categories. Okay. Well, let's say we look at social and recreational mileage. We'll circle it in red. And then we will circle what was it, work mileage maybe in blue. So work mileage is up here. So we're essentially comparing red to blue. Okay. So our red mileage for social and recreational driving was 1,950 miles. Okay. Our work mileage was 4,800 miles. And this one is just nasty enough that I would be compelled to let you use your calculator, okay? So I want you to understand what you're doing when you're simplifying a ratio, but I also don't want you spending a lifetime just dividing, okay? So let's go to the calculator. We're comparing 1,950 to 4,800. So let's see. Again, it depends on the type of calculator you have. Mine, I can go 1,950 and then divide it by the 4,800, and it will automatically turn it into a decimal, but this calculator can convert it to a fraction. So I'm going to go math, and then the first option here is convert to a fraction, so hit enter, and then it's like, are you sure? So hit enter again, and we get 13 over 32. Okay, so remember 13 over 32. Also, that is just one way that you can do a fraction in this calculator. There's a couple others, but that's the one I'm going to show for this calculator. So remember 13 over 32. So essentially, when we simplify this, finally, we get 13 over 32. So what does that mean? That means for every 13 miles driven for social and recreational driving, we drove 32 miles for work. Okay, so it's just a way of comparing things. So again, for every 13 miles you drove for social and recreation, we ended up driving 32 comparable miles for work. Okay, so again, a very classic example of dealing with ratios and rates would be having a pie chart or a circle graph like this, where you have something broken up into different categories and you compare different categories. Okay.